joined a cult at 18 years old called Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry. And while I was there, I ended up getting conned. And I married a man who was 10 years older than me, all because a prophet said that God was giving me to him. And he had gotten all of my information off of Facebook. He had said some details about me from the stage so that I would truly believe that this was God. And due to this word, my ex almost took my life, and I felt like I couldn't leave because of this word. And I've talked about it a bit before, but the reason it's really heavy on my heart this week is a YouTuber decided that he was going to do kind of like a breakdown and trying to shed light about the cover-up culture going on at Bethel, because they knew that he was a con and also that he had been abusing his staff, and they still chose to not warn anybody about what this man was doing. So I really just wanted to trauma dump on you guys and process the whole situation because it has been a lot. So for those of you who are not familiar with Bethel, they are a church based out in Redding, California, and they are very popular due to their worship music. So you might have actually heard Bethel music at your church or on the radio, and a lot of people don't know some of their crazier beliefs. And when I went out there, I did know that they leaned charismatic, but I truly didn't know how far it was going to go. Their whole mission is to bring heaven to earth, so they are all about signs, wonders, healing, prophetic words, raising people from the dead. They believe that anything is possible and that it is always God's will to heal. So I went and did their school for a few years. I did 2 years out in Redding, and then my third year was out in Pennsylvania, where I interned for Georgian and Winnie Banoff. And I thought that this was going to be a great internship. These are some pretty high up names in the charismatic circle, and they are supposed to be more lighthearted and fun. And that is where I ended up meeting my ex and where the whole Shawn Bolz thing happened. So long story short, I started to date my ex, who I am going to call Ted. And if you've seen my other videos about getting divorced because of a Walt Disney World burger, this is the same guy, and that incident did lead to our divorce. And divorcing him was honestly like one of the scariest things I had ever done, because I truly thought that this was God's will for my life. And I'm going to play you a clip of this prophetic word. I was at work at the time. I wasn't in the auditorium when this happened, but we had only been dating for 2 months at this point. So he was in the auditorium, and he had actually met this prophet, Shawn Bolz, the day before. So we know now that he went home, looked up my ex, saw my name, saw where I worked on our Facebook because our relationship was on Facebook, and he went up on stage and pretended like he had no idea and that this was all from God. So I am going to play that clip now.
When you handed me the phone last night, I saw 50, but I know that 50 is Jubilee year, and there's something about God's giving you a Jubilee. What does that mean to you? Oh, your girlfriend's name is Jubilee. That's awesome. Well, God's giving you this girl. And when we ordered the food this morning, by the way, this is a huge advertisement in the midst of prophesying, and it's a prophetic advertisement. That Tomato Pie Cafe place is like level 10 awesome. And we've been eating there for the mornings, and it's like they've been bringing us food kindly enough, and they're amazing. But does she have something to do with the Tomato Pie Cafe? Does she? She works there, okay. Jubilee from Tomato Pie Cafe.
I actually just remembered that we had only been dating 1 month at this point because he proposed at 2 months. So I felt like this was confirmation from God. There was a lot of pressure from our church because he was one of the most respected prophets. Bethel was constantly platforming him. They were doing the forewords for his books. And I had no reason to think that this guy was a con. I mean, I didn't even know that that was something that people were doing. But we have found out recently, it has been coming out more, that a lot of these prophets would look up the registration for the conferences, and they would just look all these people up, and they would, from the stage, call out people's addresses, phone numbers, scream usernames, and they would say that this was from God. And if you were called out, it felt like you had won the lottery, that God saw you. So when we got this word, it felt just absolute confirmation that this is what we should be doing. And It has been very hard the last few years to process how much Bethel knew at this time and later on, as well as the school that I was working for, which was called Global Celebration School of Supernatural Ministry. It was kind of like a sister school. I ended up finding out that my ex had tried to sexually assault his ex-girlfriend the month before we got together, and she had gone to leadership, and I can't say for sure that Georgine and Winnie Banov knew about that, but I do know that people who were related and who were head leadership at the school did know about that. So his ex went to them, said that this happened, and they didn't believe her. And because he was just so well respected, everybody loved him. He was kind of the all-star student at the school. And they demoted her in the ministry, and then a month later he starts to date me, a girl who is 10 years younger than him. And I found out that he was going around and saying that I was his Disney princess, which makes me want to throw up now. And just knowing how much cover-up culture there was going on, nobody thought to warn me that this man was dangerous. And all of this happened with Shawn Bolz, and I did not find out until probably 2020 or 2021 that Shawn was a complete con. The week before I married my ex, he became abusive for the first time. He ended up hitting my car and calling me an effing B, and I thought about calling off the wedding, but one, I didn't want to disappoint everybody, but the biggest thing is that I truly believe that this was God's will for my life. And he ended up being abusive again on the honeymoon, and it just got worse and worse from there. And he ended up strangling me twice during our marriage, which is an incredibly deadly form of domestic violence. I couldn't swallow without pain for more than 10 days after the second time, after the Disney World burger incident. And I feel extremely lucky to be alive, and that prophetic word really caused me so much fear because I was so afraid that I was going to go to hell if I didn't listen to what God told me that I should do, which I thought that was to be with Ted. This is getting kind of long, so I'm going to make another video about what we have found out about Bethel and their response, their lack of accountability, and just some other crazy cover-up things that they've been a part of.